Welcome back, guys. We are back for another NHL DFS puck drop here at Fantasy Sports Insight. I am Hold the Door DFS. I am an NHL coach and an owner at FSI, and I am super pumped for tonight's slate. And I'm also really glad that you're listening. I just want to give a shout out to FSI, our Fantasy Sports Insight DFS community. We've had two massive takedowns in our soccer channels. Our coach Tendril Storm with a $20,000 win today, and we had a 10,000 plus win by one of our members yesterday. So if you are thinking about joining a DFS community, think about FSI. We have every sport, we cover it all. You have access to our coaches. So be sure to check that out at fsidfs.com. And if you just enjoy listening to our content, that's fine too. Just make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, throw me a comment. I shaved, got a haircut. I don't care. Put those types of things in there. That's fine with me. But we are going to have a very similar slate to what we had yesterday, which or 2 days ago now. Sorry, a two-game slate. A two-game slate in which we are now dealing with a massive money line favorite. And even today, honestly, or last night, whenever you're listening to this. We had the Canadians at minus 340 or whatever it is, but that's NHL variance. They're in a smash spot against Ottawa, and they hang 2 goals. Obviously, Matthews had a ton of ownership, but Marner should have had more. Tavares had a goal. They scored 7 goals, so it's always not as straightforward as the odds, but I still think you should use odds and money line like I show here on all these shows to drive where you want to target. Obviously, tomorrow you don't want to target Detroit. They are a -3. The Lightning are a -360 favorite, similar to what they were on Wednesday. Now, people that stack the top line, even though they scored 6 goals, 5 goals, whatever it was, Stamkos only had 1 assist and 1 or 2 shots on goal. The studs didn't go off. Well, they did okay, but nothing compared to Boston 1. So you kind of had to either make a decision on one or the other or kind of split it down the middle. And that's another slate like tonight. We have the Lightning and the Golden Knights being massive favorites, and everybody else, the Bruins are the next biggest favorite at -130. And then everyone else is a pick 'em basically, and it's a 5-game slate. And all the games right now, as I'm recording this, are sitting at a 5.5 total. So, which is pretty crazy. I do think the Panthers and the Predators, just based on tonight's game having 11 goals, I think you're going to see that line move up to 6 with them. Golden Knights, obviously, I think their line could push a little bit as well. But yeah, so let's get into the slate. I think yeah, let's just get into it. I'm not gonna dwell on the Tampa Bay Boston dilemma yet, because we'll get into that enough here. So the studs at the center position, we know Patrice Bergeron has been an absolute stud this year, and now you add in one of the top players of the league back into the top line, and that makes him even better. So smash spot for him. I think he is worth the $600 more than Braden Point, but I can definitely see the case made for Braden Point. I don't know. I think, okay, so I'm just going to get into this dilemma right now. When Tampa Bay is going to just, if they absolutely destroy Detroit again, okay, there's the likelihood that, yes, this top line can go off, but there's also a chance that what happened, you see the third line score 2 goals, you see the second line score a goal, and all of a sudden it's 4-5-1. And then now you have, I think even the third period when they had a couple power plays, Stamkos's unit didn't even go out in the first group. So it's kind of like they're up by so much, let's not put on the pressure. And you do see some of that happen in the NHL, like a team down 2 goals in the third period. You see usually that they are the more attacking team in that period, kind of similar to soccer, that game script. So while Tampa Bay is a massive favorite here, and I still think you should get part of or a couple pieces of that top line, I think when you consider them against Boston here in a more competitive matchup, even though the prices are definitely higher, I think you might want to take, Bergeron or Pastrnak to kind of split your ownership on both the teams. Obviously, in GPP, I think you can be all in on one and off the other. That's fine. But I do expect Point and Stamkos to bounce back, and you might see a 2-3 point game here. But what I'm saying is, if you get a game that is 5-4, I just feel like the likelihood of that condensed scoring going to your studs is more frequent, because on the end of those games in the third period, you're not getting fourth lines that are taking some of those shifts. Yeah, so I'll stop on that rant, but just know that this slate will be largely determined by how you split your ownership with Tampa Bay and Boston. So, and then I think, honestly, I think Vegas kind of goes low key under owned, even though they shouldn't, because Patches is really cheap. Barkov's form is insane. So I think he goes low owned too, at least in cash. Then we get to our mid range here. The Sharks going up against the Ducks. Couturier, Hurdle are both fine, 5.74, 5.4. Cirelli, again, somebody who played well again in the last game against Detroit and has actually played really well all season, is on a second line with Tyler Johnson and Killorn. So again, another viable line that can definitely play well in this phenomenal matchup for them. The value I like here is not as great as usual. Duchesne, 4.5. I think he's going to get into form. He had a great night tonight against Florida. Chandler Stevenson, I'd only probably use if I'm using Stone and Pacioretty in a stack. Nemestikov, wherever he's going to line up, he has been lining up in the second or first line recently. It's just too cheap for the role he's going to play, even as the biggest underdog on the slate. He's a value play. He doesn't need to correlate with anything at that point. And then Scott Lawton on the third line for Philly has provided a decent floor and a decent time on ice floor to definitely pay off a 2.6K price tag. All right, the winger position. McDavid got the 9K price tag. Now we get Pastrnak with the 50 burger that he had in the last game against Philly. What's crazy, like obviously he had the first goal like really quick. That game is 3-1 Philly in the third period. If that game ends 3-1, you're not sitting there regretting not stacking Boston. They score 2 goals and then the overtime winner. It's, those events are just so crazy. But Boston scoring is so concentrated, time on ice, high danger attempts. Yeah, so that's where it is. I can't argue playing Pastrnak. He's going to be popular tomorrow. I like him more than Stamkos, even though the matchup, I think he's just flat out too good of a player. He's got the 5 shot on goal bonus almost every slate. And I think you're going to see another competitive game that they need him to show up in. Stamkos is fine. I prefer Stamkos over Marchand. Marchand, I think when all three are playing, clearly becomes the third wheel and sometimes gets left off. Obviously, he's on the ice with them, and a full stack is fine. But a full stack is going to put you really in a predicament where I see a lot of people maybe going like to Boston, and then maybe you take Point or Stamkos and then maybe stack them with somebody like Killorn or Palat, who also will get power play correlation, but you won't have to pay a premium price. Patches at 6.9K. Again, Golden Knights are massive favorites here. And I think that he can definitely, pay off that price tag. Mark Stone, I think, is always that like secondary piece with him and is more likely to get some assists, but his floor is a lot lower. He's not putting as many shots on net. So I don't really like him as much in cash, but I think he's a viable GPP stack. And then you compare them with my favorite defenseman on the slate, on most slates, Shea Theodore and Alex Pietrangelo. So the mid-range here, Hornquist just continues to tear it up. Get me out of Pittsburgh and I will explode. And that's what's happening right now. And he is showing that his role is increased. He's getting consistent minutes. He's on the power play, and he's skating with a great guys that, like Barkov and Huberdeau and Huberdeau with a massive night tonight as well. Like finally got off the pine. Like he's had a rough season, but we know the talent is really good. If he's in form right now, Huberdeau's price is close to 7K. So in another great matchup, I think you can stack. Like this mid-range is loaded. Forsberg with the 50-point game as well. So I don't know. I just don't know where the ownership's going to land. I know Pasternak's going to be popular, but this mid-range is juicy. Granlund at 4.2. Honestly, just give the guy some respect. He just slate after slate. I don't even think he's had a dud yet. and he hasn't been priced over this yet. So continue to play him at this price. He correlates with Forsberg, correlates with Duchesne. One of my favorite value stacks is those three. Voracek 4.1, another guy that's just not getting respect. Like, he's got a great floor, and I like him in this spot. Nick Ritchie, been one of the best value plays all year, and is still getting power play one time. Excuse me, with Bergeron, Pastrnak, Marchand, McAvoy, lock and load, great value, great way to get a piece of the Boston pie at a discounted price. And then Ryan Donato, if he continues to be in a top 6 spot for San Jose, is somebody you can pair with Couturier or Hurdle wherever he lands. I think he's with Couturier, but so another spot that's a good spot for him. The studs defenseman, I'm going to leave off Hedman. I just don't see, like, Hedman obviously is clearly in the best spot here, but I don't think you could pay 7.6K for him in a situation in which you're either fading a third Boston piece, you're fading Point, or you're fading Stamkos for Hedman. I prefer all of those before Hedman's price. And part of that is because I think there's enough value and decent mid-range here. And I really like Theodore and Pietrangelo. If they're going to continue just to run 5 defensemen, and that might change tonight, but like, their ice time is insane. Theodore had 8 shots on goal in one of the recent games. So gotta love him. Pietrangelo is always in play for the double-double bonus. And if you don't know what the double-double bonus is, it is 3 block shots and it is 5 shots on goal. And then you add like maybe an assist or 2 in there, and you're looking at 25 points and you're really happy. So Roman Josi had a phenomenal game tonight as well. These type of game environments really favor him when somebody like Florida is just all over the place, open play. Roman Josi is going to take advantage of that all day long. Ryan Doty is kind of a GPP only for me, a little bit too expensive, but in cash, actually, he's been really good. He's had a good floor. Just don't love LA Kings in general that much, but he kind of fell on a price tag that I think you can pay for. I prefer Ryan Ellis at a $500 discount. I think he's just kind of he's become kind of not a cash cow, but he's provided always a decent floor, and he's just going to be the discounted guy to Josi most slates. And then Alec Martinez is a block shot machine. You can basically lock him in for 3 blocks, and then anything after that is gravy. So I know you want more than that at 5.2, but he actually does have shot on goal upside and even like 5 or 6 block shots. So, and then obviously assist goal equity as well. The value, McDonough had a goal in the last game against Detroit, but he's just on the ice too much for his price tag in this kind of matchup. So I can't blame you for taking him. Shattenkirk had a first double-digit game in a while on the last game. So I think in a matchup against a leaky San Jose team, this is a spot that he could get some shots on goal, potentially a goal or an assist. The Ghost here in a matchup also with Boston, but he is starting to get that 20-plus ice time. We do know, if you've played DFS long enough, that he is one that loves to shoot. Matthias Ekholm is another guy that clearly is just playing too many minutes and is really going to just naturally outperform his price tag at 3.4K. Like, if you naturally play that long, 20, 22, 23, 24, in those kind of roles, you're going to pay off your price tag. So Juice here, I don't know, I probably pronounced that wrong. This is maybe the only one that I pronounced wrong today. 2.6 has an elevated role right now with Detroit and should see decent time on ice. So the goalies, Vassell, 8.5. Do you want to give up 1 or 2 goals and get the win and have 22 saves? Sure, 14, 15 points. Leonard could do the same thing against why am I drawing a blank? Who do they play? Vegas is playing. I should know this, right? Obviously, I should know this. They play the Kings. The Kings don't really shoot that much. So Leonard could be in a similar situation. Rask could also be in a similar situation. In that last matchup, I think it was like 22 saves. He gave up 3 goals. He scored 14 points. So, I mean, you just have to consider those things. But I get it in cash. That win equity is huge because not only is the win equity huge, but the downside to quick giving up 4 goals and getting lost could be a 20-point swing. So I definitely get it. So if you could find the price to get up to one of these 3 guys, I definitely would do that. Rask, I'd probably be the least excited about just because they're only a minus 130 favorite. You pay 200 more, you're getting minus 240. You pay a 300 more than Rask, you're getting minus 350. So I think Vassell will be popular. If you want to go in the mid-range, Gibson is obviously, if you follow NHL at all, he is just one of the best standalone goalies, not necessarily his team or his performances always, but he can stand on his head and, pull a 20, 30 point game out of nowhere. And I think in a matchup against San Jose, there is some win equity. So Dreiger should be in net since Bobrovsky was in net tonight. If you think that they bounce back and not let up 6 goals, then I think he's in play. But really, honestly, I don't love this range at all. I probably will be paying up, even though I don't like to pay up for goalie in cash. But Jonathan Quick could see 30 shots on goal, I think. But the Ducks I think Kelvin Peterson had 40 saves, I think it was, against the Ducks. So imagine how many shots on goal Vegas might put on him tonight. Definitely could give Quick maybe that 35 save bonus, and then you could maybe take advantage of that. All right, as we finish up here, I don't really need to spend a lot of time on the 2 clearest pay up options for stacks on tonight's slate. Bergeron, Pastrnak, Marchand, McAvoy. If you do it, you're going to be punting a lot, but I think it's possible, and you can find a low-owned stack that is probably actually going to have to be cheaper than the stacks that I have down here. Even though Killorn, Johnson, and Cirelli is fairly cheap, and you could pair in Sergachev, Forsberg, Duchesne, Granlund probably would be too expensive to pair with one of these stacks, but I think if you're going mid-range, I think both of them can be used. Stamkos, Point, Palat, Hedman. If you want to add in Killorn for the power play, you can do that. But again, these are the stacks that I like, and I think that in GPP, stacking makes definitely the most sense. You can still use 3 defenders, when you're stacking. You don't have to use that utility spot as an attacker, just depending on how your slates build. So thanks a lot for listening, guys. Again, check out all of our great content on our channel. Well, we have soccer, PGA. TK is doing a phenomenal job putting out these showdown PGA content. That is something that I'm always looking for. Like, what happened today in PGA that should help me tomorrow? Well, TK is going to do that for you. And then we have NASCAR this next weekend. Man, things are going to be exploding here in MLB right around the corner. So we have Super Bowl weekend. Don't forget about that. We'll have a showdown breakdown, Gator Guy and I, and for DK and FanDuel. So be sure to check those things out, and see you later.